Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this podcast, I'm going to talk about breaking curfew. Now, most of you listening, at some point in time in your life, probably when you were younger, had a set time in which you had to be at home. And if not, you broke curfew. You know, your parents established, okay, well, hey, this is the time that you need to be at home. Or maybe you were in college and this was the time that you had to be in the dorm. Whatever the case was, nonetheless, you're confined to that time. And so most people had at some point in time a curfew, right? And if you broke that curfew, there were consequences and repercussions that came with that. And so I want to tell you a story about the time that I broke curfew and paid dearly for it. I really should start by saying, growing up, I didn't have a curfew. I really did not have a curfew. I was the oldest. Growing up in my house, it was me and my brother. Once my parents divorced, my dad had my sister, got remarried. And so, but in my house, it was just me, my brother, and my mom. And my mom never said like, yo, you need to be in the house by this time. She knew that I was pretty good with time. And she knew that, you know, whatever she said, you know, she didn't have to say it more than once, first and foremost. But she knew that I was pretty good with time and I wasn't going to be coming in the house, you know. I wasn't going to be coming in the house when the sun was coming up or anything like that. And then another thing you have to keep in mind is, one, where I grew up. I grew up in Florence, South Carolina. So now, if you're not familiar with Florence, South Carolina, it ain't a big place. So it really isn't a lot to do after a certain time. You know, pretty much after midnight, the only thing open is legs and hospitals. That's it. So, you know, it wasn't going to be a whole bunch of kicking it like that. As opposed to now, I live in Atlanta. You know, this city doesn't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little different. And then I came up in a different era in the 90s. So different day and time, different steeds. Nonetheless, I didn't have a curfew. You know, the only thing she would tell me, even when I went off to college, she would say, you know, you just make sure that you come in at a respectable hour. I never had to ask what, quote unquote, a respectable hour was. But, you know, I just knew, you know, at a certain time I needed to be home. The one thing that I did used to do, like when I was in high school, I never pushed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, case in point, when I was in high school, we would have dances at our high school, right? And my high school was 5 minutes away, literally around the corner. And so we would have our dances, and I might go, me and my boys, we might go hang out at the McDonald's parking lot after the dance. But the dances went in, it'd be Friday nights, dance would end. And the dances usually were after a football game. And, you know, the dances would end at midnight. We might go hang out McDonald's parking lot and kick it. We might do that for about, 30, 45 minutes. And then I'll come home, you know, so I'm home by 1. And I mean, I think that's a decent hour, especially in those days and times. And so I didn't, you know, give her any reason to be concerned or anything like that. But I did develop one little trick, right? So I think I can tell y'all this because I'm grown now. But one of my best friends, my boy Jay Fresh. Jay Fresh lived around the corner from me, right? And he's an only child. And of course, my mom knew him. We went to the same church, knew his parents, the whole nine. And she knows that we're one of the best. She knew that he was one of my best friends. Jay Fresh's crib was kind of set up to where his parents built him like this studio apartment onto their house, right? Or it was over their garage or whatever. And so his room, in essence, was away from the main house. So a lot of times, if I wanted to stay out a little later or whatever like that, I would just tell my mom, I'm like, yo, I'm going to Jay Fresh crib. And she'd be like, okay. Because she knows that, if I'm going to his crib, I'm not staying, she knows where I am. I'm literally around the corner. Like I literally could walk to Jay Fresh's crib. He's right around the corner. Takes me 2 minutes from my house to his house, right? So I would do that sometimes, if me and Jay Fresh were just kicking. It might be a Friday or Saturday night. And so instead of coming home at, 12:30, 1 o'clock, I might come home at 2. But it was cool because, again, I would tell her that's where I was. And, she never worried about me. And then, of course, I think I could tell y'all this. It'd be times where, like, let's say, I don't know, I want to go hang out with a girl and kick it. I would tell my mom, yo, I'm going to Jay Fresh crib. And she would be cool with it. She'd be like, okay, cool. And so like I might leave the house at 10 till I'm going to Jay Fresh crib, but I'm really going to kick it with some girl. And I mean, like, then I come rolling in the house at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, and was never questioned, right? So again, that was my way of kind of skating around curfew, because to me, it really wasn't curfew if, I didn't really have one. So it was just come in at a respectable hour and, she gave me a little bit more freedom, especially if she thought that I was around the corner at Jay Fresh's crib, which sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. Nevertheless, fast forward, I go to college, right? And curfew in college is, it's different. I mean, there is no such thing as curfew in college unless you're in a dorm that requires you to be in the dorm at a certain time. Then there's no such thing as curfew in college. You come and go as you please. There's no mom or dad to tell you when to come in and when to do anything or whatever the case may be. So I'm a freshman at South Carolina State University. Shout out to the alma mater. And I'm kicking it. I'm loving it. It's historically black college. So, I'm amongst my peers, the girls. I'm playing football. And, everything's dope. And, I really didn't even fathom the idea of the fact that we may have curfew as a team, because I was like, hey, I'm in college. I don't need curfew. But we did. Particularly during the season, we would have curfew. So basically how curfew works during the season is that, they come by and they check your room to make sure everybody's in, you're in your room or whatever the case may be. And so, they pretty much, when school started, our coaches didn't check curfew like during the week. They would sometimes, but not a lot. But they really would check curfew or check our rooms to make sure that we didn't break curfew. That was pretty much the night before the game. Like, you had to be in the dorm, you had to be, chilling or whatever the case may be. So, in my freshman year, I didn't play. I was redshirted. So I wasn't playing anywhere. I was just practicing. So my thing was like, who cares? Like, I wasn't playing. So I was like, didn't matter if I break curfew or not. It's not like they're going to use me on Saturday. So I had gotten to the point where me and my boys, we kind of mastered the what we would call the curfew run. Basically, what we would do is, if we got wind that the coaches were coming to check our rooms, we stayed in a room until, they came and checked everybody. And then 15, 20 minutes later, we break out. And I remember one specific night, one of the coaches came by. He was at our room at like 11:05, right? And shout out to Coach Harper. He had this blue Jeep Cherokee Cherokee. I'm sorry. And after he checked curfew, we was like, okay, let's break out. So we were headed up to the freshman girls dorm at the front of the campus. And so we get halfway up the street, and I guess he doubled back, and he saw us, but he didn't. I mean, like, because I guess the best way I can describe it is that we look like freshmen. So he turned back around, he whipped the Cherokee around, and we had to make a dash for it. So instead of going back to the dorm and thinking that he was going to check our rooms, he was actually trying to see who it was that he thought it was. So we made a dash for like the girls' dorm. There was some bushes. We jumped in the bushes and hid. And we hid in the bushes, and we kind of laid low until he passed by, whatever like that. So he never was able to catch us. So he was like, okay, cool. So we did that a couple of times. Like, we would wait until after they came around and checked the rooms, and we would just break out and just, go kick it on the yard. I mean, we were freshmen. We didn't really, like I said, all of us were being redshirted. So we didn't care about breaking curfew. So again, and then when you fast forward, even on the weekends when I would come home, there was still no curfew, right? My mom gave me even more leeway when I was in college. I didn't abuse it, but I would hang out, and I still, come in the house, at a respectable hour. Until the following year. Let's just say things got a little dicey. All right. So I was a redshirt freshman that next year, which by school definition, I was a sophomore, but I was a redshirt freshman on the field, right? My second year at South Carolina State University. And it's the beginning of the season. And, as young men, as ball players, we want to get out and kind of kick it with the other students. But, particularly at the beginning of the year, at South Carolina State University, there were mad parties. I mean, like, there could be a party on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. I mean, just back to back on campus, sometimes off campus, whatever the case was. And I remember this because it was still, we were just wrapping up camp. So that means the season hadn't started yet. So we're talking, I don't know, late August, right? So the students are there, the girls on campus, so it's all love. And I remember this was on a Friday night. I'll never forget it. And we were just, kind of kicking it around the room and in the dorm. And we got word that it was a pajama party at the gym. One thing that I loved at South Carolina State were pajama parties. Pajama parties were just that. You come to the party in your pajamas. I mean, like, I don't wear pajamas. I didn't wear pajamas back then. I literally would go to the pajama party with like some boxers on and like a bathrobe and like some Timberlands. Or maybe not the Timberlands, like some Jordans or something like that. And, I had like one of my boys, he didn't have pajamas. He didn't have a bathrobe, so he literally would take a bed sheet and wrap himself in a bed sheet like it was a toga, and go up in a pajama jam and just, just let it hang. And we would just kick it like that. And so this particular night, we had there was a pajama jam at the gym, right? And the problem with the pajama jam was that we had a scrimmage, intra-squad scrimmage the next day, right? So as football players, as student athletes, we knew that we couldn't go to that pajama jam, right? And we knew that there'll probably be some upperclassmen that might try to go, but we as young freshmen, we couldn't go. And more importantly, we knew that some of the coaches, or maybe at worst the grad assistants, would be there. There would be somebody in the vicinity looking to see if we snuck out to go to the party. So we go to practice that day, and the only thing that everybody on campus is talking about is the pajama jam. Everybody's going. Again, school is, I don't even think school, if classes had started, we would have been in class for maybe about a week, right? So it's still fresh. Everybody's still in party mode, the whole nine. And I remember we ate dinner. We had a team meeting. And then after the team meeting, we went back to the dorm. So we in the dorm chilling. And it's getting kind of late, right? It's probably like, I don't know, 10, 11. It's probably about like 11 o'clock. Our curfew that night was 10:30 because they were just like, look, we got a long day tomorrow. We got a, scrimmage, and it's going to be hot, da-da-da-da-da, whatever the case may be. So they came by and they checked our rooms or whatever at 10:30. Okay, boom. Everybody was in the room. And so it was getting kind of late. It was about, I don't know, maybe about 11:30. And we're sitting around the room kicking it. It's me and my boy Q. Shout out to Q. Q is from Atlanta. And he played running back. And it's late and we're hungry. And I have no food in my room. We ate dinner, I think, at like 6 o'clock. And so, there's nothing else to eat. Like nobody in the dorm had any food that they could share, anything like my boy next door, he had some ramen noodles, but I don't eat that shit. This stuff is nasty. So anyway, so me and Q, we just looking at each other. We're just starving, right? And so Q was like, man, I got to get something to eat because like I'm hungry. And I was like, yeah, me too. And so we're trying to think of, how we can get some food. We didn't have any money to call and, order a pizza, anything like that. And plus, you really don't want to be eating a pizza that late, but that's a whole nother story for another day. And so I called, we were chilling in the room and my homegirl Nicole called. Shout out to Nicole. Love Nicole. So I'm talking to Nicole on the phone and she was like, what you doing? I was like, man, we in here chilling. We starved. She was like, I'm surprised you didn't go to the pajama jam. And her dorm was right across the way from the gym where the pajama jam was. And so I was like, well, why didn't you go? She was like, well, I went. She was like, it was kind of hot in there. I didn't really feel like staying, whatever the case may be. And I was like, man, me and Q in here, we starving, man. She was like, word? She was like, man, I got some food over here. She was like, I got some cookies. And I was like, word, what kind of cookies? So she told me what kind of cookies she had. She said she had bought like 3 packs of cookies or something. Like she had like, it was like buy 2, get 1 free or some shit like that. And so she was like, y'all can have these cookies if you want them. And I was like, okay, bet. I was like, why don't you bring them over here? And she was like, nah, I just got out the shower. My hair is wet. I'm not going back outside, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Nicole, bring me the cookies. And so Nicole was like, nah, I'm not bringing you the cookies. If you want these cookies, you better come over here and get them. So I'm like, oh. So Q was like, fuck it, let's go get the cookies. You had to know Q to be like, Q was just like ride or die. So that was always his thing. Let's just do it. Let's go get it. And I was like, Q, we can't go out because if we go out, we got to pass the gym. If we pass the gym, one of the coaches might see us and think we're at a pajama jam and we're going to get in trouble for breaking curfew. He's like, man, ain't nobody going to be out there. I was like, all right, cool. So I told Nicole, I was like, look, we'll be over there in 5 minutes. I was like, I need you downstairs. Because, this was the 90s, so there were no cell phones. I couldn't text her. So I said, I need you to be downstairs. Give me the cookies. We're going to get the cookies and then we're going to roll out. So me and Q, we bounce. I got on like this. I have on a shirt. I actually went as far as putting on a hoodie. And keep in mind, this is August, so it's hot outside. I got a hoodie on. I got my hat. I got my Yankee cap pulled down real low. I don't want nobody to see me. I was straight creep mode, right? And so me and Q, we walking over there, and we go in. Cole comes downstairs, gives us the cookies. She actually gave us two containers of cookies. I thought we'd get one, but she actually gave us two. So I had one and Q had one. So we were going to eat the cookies and just chill for the rest of the night. And so we're walking out of her dorm. And as soon as we turn the corner, one of the coaches sees us. And so he says, it was one of the grad assistants. And he said, oh, you guys are out at the curfew? Okay, we'll see you all in the morning. So me and Q are pissed. We're like, damn, we done got caught out here. And so get back to the dorm. We eat the cookies. I called Nicole. I'm like, yo, Nicole, man, we going to get in trouble because we got caught after curfew. And she was like, well, what happened? I was like, well, one of the grad assistants saw us outside. And so she was like, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to lose you? You going to lose your scholarship? I was like, nah, we're not going to lose our scholarship, but we're going to have to do some type of, we'll be punished after the scrimmage, or we'll be punished on Monday after practice, like that. So make a long story short, me and Q go back to the dorm, we eat the cookies, chill, get ready for the scrimmage the next day. So apparently there's a rumor floating around the locker room that, several guys got caught after curfew, right? And they didn't say who. And they said, yeah, it was about 10 guys got caught after curfew. And so me and Q like, okay, well, so what's going to happen? And then so the rumor was, okay, well, they're just going to reprimand us or whatever the case may be. It won't be any punishment or anything like this because this is a big scrimmage. And I remember it vividly because, like I said, Q's from Atlanta. Q's dad actually drove from Atlanta to come see Q in the scrimmage, right? So we go out there, and I think the scrimmage starts at 11 o'clock. So it's 11 o'clock in Orangeburg, South Carolina. That means it's 100 degrees outside, right? So we're out there, scrimmage is going on well. And then so somebody said, well, yeah, 10 guys got caught after curfew last night, but they're not going to punish them today after practice. It'll be, Monday after practice, which this was on a Saturday. And so I was like, Q, we're straight. I was like, we're in the clear. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, nobody mentioned our names. I was like, maybe for some reason I thought maybe, just maybe, that Q and I were going to slide in that. Not only did, because the rumor that we heard was that the 10 guys that got caught, they were all upperclassmen. There weren't any freshmen that got caught after curfew. So I'm like, okay, this is even better. Just the upperclassmen got caught after curfew. So even if there is punishment that is, pushed out there, it won't involve me and Q. So anyway, like I said, it's about 100 degrees outside. So I'm drinking Gatorade. And I think that particular day, man, I had at least 10 cups of Gatorade, right? So when I finally got in, because I didn't start or anything like that, neither did Q. When we got in the scrimmage, played well, did really, really well. I think I caught a couple passes, looked good. And Q ran the ball. He was running back, and he had a couple of good carries or whatever the case may be. Great scrimmage, right? So time in practice, in the scrimmage, we all circling around our Coach Jeffries. Shout out to Coach J. And he's talking about how we performed and this and that and getting ready for the season, the whole nine. And then we say our team prayer, and then we're getting ready to leave off the field. So I'm thinking we're in the clear. And one of the coaches said, hey, before we get out of here, I need to see. And he just starts running off these list of names. And he ran off like 10 names. he's like, I need to see these guys after practice. And he didn't say Kyle or Q. So I was like, we are really in the clear. So I was geeked. And then just before we were about to, leave the huddle and walk off the field, one of the other coaches said, oh, before I forget, coach, we need to see Q and Kyle. What? Oh my God. And so now I start panicking. And I'm like, okay, well, it's a scrimmage. They're going to punish us. What are they going to do? They're going to make us run extra wind sprints, whatever the case may be. Okay, so we start running. They make us run. We run up and down the field. And again, we've scrimmaged and it's hot. It's at this time, it's probably about 2:00. So it's at least 105. Right. So we run and we run and we run. And then we had to do what they call bear crawl. So we're bear crawling. Bear crawling means that you're on your hands and your feet have to stay on the ground, and you have to do that for 100 yards. So you go down the field and come back up the field. So it's basically 200 yards. So we had to bear crawl a couple of times. We had to run a couple of wind sprints, so forth and so on. So we're doing all of this, quote unquote training punishment, if you will. And then the coach blew the whistle. And I thought when he blew the whistle, I thought we were done. He was like, all right. He's like, last thing you guys got to do, y'all got to roll. Huh? What? Roll? Man, when he said roll, my heart dropped. All right. For those of you who don't know what I mean by rolling is just that. You have to get on the ground and you have to roll your body 360 degrees. So you start at one end zone and you have to roll yourself 100 yards. You get down to the other end zone, and you have to roll yourself back 100 yards. And for someone like me who has a bad stomach, it's not good because my stomach can't you literally make yourself dizzy. It's almost like getting on a merry-go-round at a park or something, and then just you're making yourself dizzy. And so like my stomach can't handle that. So here it is again. It's 105 degrees. It's hot. I'm sweaty. I'm dirty. And now they're telling me I got to roll. So I start rolling and I'm just looking at everything. And as I'm rolling, it's going through my mind like, I can't believe they got us out here rolling. And what was funny to me was Q was out here rolling and his dad is still in the stands watching him being punished. And so, I mean, like at this point, I ain't gonna lie, man, I really wanted to quit. Like I really was like, I wanted to just take those pads off. I mean, I didn't have my shoulder pads on, but I really wanted to take my pants off and just be like, man, the hell with this. So I'm rolling. And the next thing I know, yeah, all of the Gatorade came out. All of the Gatorade came out. I mean, like I couldn't stop throwing up. It was just so nasty. And so I rolled down, rolled back, rolled down, rolled back. And I mean, I kept stopping because I kept having to throw up. And when I tell you, I have never, ever in my life felt that bad, because at this point I'm dehydrated. I mean, like I'm pretty sure what happened that day was what they probably would deem cruel and unusual punishment. But I was done. I was, whatever bodily fluids I had were gone. So when I finished rolling, I finished before Q. And I'm looking at Q, and I'm surprised. I'm the only one throwing up. Nobody else is throwing up. Everybody else is, trying to get their bearings because you're dizzy and it's hot and it's just like you can't do anything. And so I gather up my little mess and I started to walk off the field. And it was there in my mind where I was just like, you know what? I'm not breaking curfew again, ever again. Like I can't do this. I just cannot do this again. And so it it was so bad that when we were rolling and all of that stuff, everybody else, they already gone into, everybody else who wasn't, called out, they had gone into the locker room. They had changed their clothes, showered, everything, and went to the caf and got something to eat and was back in the dorm. Everybody, we literally were out there for about an extra hour. It felt like 10 hours, right? So I was dirty, just nasty, grimy. Man, when I got in the locker room, I ain't take no shower. I didn't try to brush my teeth. No, nothing. I put on some clothes. I put on some shorts and a white t-shirt and some flip flops, and I walked back to the walk to the dorm was about, I don't know, a 5-minute walk. It seemed like it was an eternity. And so they were like, "Yo, Kyle, you need to go to the calf before the calf." I was like, I don't want anything to eat. My stomach can't handle anything. I'm not doing anything. I just want to lay down. That's all I can say. I just want to lay down. And so then when I get in the dorm, the phone rings. It's my mother. And so she's like, "Well, how you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, we just coming out of scrimmage, And she was like, "Well, what's wrong?" And I never told her that I got caught breaking curfew. I just told her I had a long scrimmage and I had a long night before and I was tired and all this stuff like that. I told her some lie. I can't remember what I said. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. Because this would be the first time she's ever heard the story before. But yeah, man, curfew, man. It's curfew, or they're there for a reason. Whatever you do, don't break curfew. We all have a story. If you've got a breaking curfew story, hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what time it is. That's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.